let me kind of get into it a little bit because I really want to talk about this Kanye or Ye issue. And I entitled the topic for today, Ye, crazy or eccentric? A fool or a fox? Like I said, sometimes we are the first to criticize. Like sometimes when a black person does something off the wall, we're the first to beat him down for it, like he should have known better, whatnot. But when other people do some crazy shit off the wall, we tend to hold our commentary. But when they do some good shit, we laud them with all types of praises. Now, I'm not saying that black men who are successful don't get praise as well. But more often than not, we make claims that there are sometimes they're sold out as a justification why they may be succeeding and why you're not. And when I say you, I'm not necessarily speaking to anyone in the chat. I'm just kind of putting it out there into the ether, right? Like Ye he's been very specific about this crazy thing, the label, where the tag came from, what was the purpose. For those who have seen the Noor or Nori Drink Champs interview, they've kind of laid it out pretty clear where that label came from. And some of us who are in this space who are beginning to grow economically, i.e., make more money, and maybe in the future, 3 to 5 years from now, may decide to use your voice for change. And more than likely, when you do, you'll become a threat. I mean, right now, there's quite a few platforms in this YouTube space that are growing astronomically or exponentially year over year. So, by the time we get to the turn of the decade, there are going to be some pretty rich brothers in this space. And there's nothing like success and money having a fat bank account to make a motherfucker feel comfortable, to make you want to kind of like flex your wings, When you get to that point, if you start speaking out on issues, people are going to accuse you of shit. People will try to discredit you. We do that just in general panel when we have conversation, right? Can't attack the argument, attack the person, discredit the message. It's an easy approach. We all know it. So someone who is powerful, perceived to be powerful, have money, has influence. It's funny because power, influence, and charisma is the whole reason why I'm even online. I was watching the Lapeef show one night back in either early January or late December. Don't remember exactly when. I think it was January though. And it was a topic of interest to me. And I decided in the after show to like call in and kind of like lend my voice to that commentary. And then it kind of transformed into something else. And Now here I am lending my voice every week. So I think as you guys become more economically strong, independent, you might say, not independent that you don't need anyone, but independent that you're free. You're free to think what you want to think and then act on your thoughts because your economical status allows you to do the whims of your thoughts. When you get to the point where you can exercise things based on the whims of your thoughts, that's a whole different level of freedom. A lot of us, we self-govern ourselves. A lot of us pick and choose our words. And if and when we may say something that step on someone's toes that we believe have power, if they tell us cut it out, we cut it out. But when you don't have to listen to anyone else but your own voice, the drums of your own beat, and you block out others, you can kind of move freely. It's like if you've ever watched a National Geographic and they're doing some type of special on great white sharks. If you ever watched a great white shark move in the ocean, in the depths, there's a certain command in the way in which he swims. It's like, I own this. You see other fishes, they're nervously scrambling and moving out of his way. He doesn't move out of the way of anyone. And I think sometimes economic success can lend that level of freedom. And not just to Black people, but to everybody, right? When you become economically wealthy beyond measure, there's a certain freedom you have on earth. People listen to what you say. And if you're inspiring, you can be inspiring to others to make them think and do things. And that level of power could be threatening to some people. So contemplate this for a moment. If Ye was a white dude doing the stuff that he does, with the complexity of his personal life, white people would more than likely say he's eccentric. Back in the 70s, probably, before most of the people who are listening here were born, back in the 70s, before men of a certain caliber moved in this way. And they were called eccentric. I'm not sure who may have heard of J. Paul Getty and men like him. If you ever read up on him, he was called an eccentric. But the shit he did blew everybody away. And after a while, people started embracing eccentrics. So this type of demonstration of how super wealthy, talented, creative, genius like minds, people act, speak, and what they do, most times the average person have no understanding. To the aware, they might say he's unique, he's a genius, or he's genius mind level individual. Whether he come from, some type of engineering, whether he's a shipping tycoon, whether he's in tech, medical sciences, investment baron, like Warren Buffett. There was a time before, you guys know, back in the early 90s, a lot of the mutual funds and money managers, they used to shun Warren Buffett. They used to think he was crazy. But over the decade from the 90s to 2000, as they observe his performance, and at that time, Berkshire Hathaway was trading, I think it's $65,000 for one share. And if you know anything about buying a publicly traded company, unless you're able to buy it privately directly from the company, their shares, if you buy it in the market, the minimum shares you can purchase is 100 shares. So do you have 6.5 million to buy 100 shares of Berkshire Hathaway? And it was after his continued success of his investment strategy and style that people really started to take note. Newsweek magazine started to feature him. Time magazine started to feature him. Wall Street Journal used to track his performance. And then people started to realize he's not crazy like a fool. He's eccentric like a fox. And then whatever move he made, money managers started to make the same moves. On that interview with Nori, Kanye said that, it was a handler that threw out that label that he was crazy. But what did he do? He said, well, I didn't choose to fight it. Why am I going to spend money trying to fight something that is a negative? And not just a negative in impression, but something that is not, right? It's like you trying to prove that you're not a P word or an R word or an alphabet word. That's why Kevin Samuels just ignored it, right? When they called him that, he didn't even beef about that. So what did Ye do, though? He embraced it. As opposed to fighting the label, he understood it. Like sometimes the best way to neutralize an attack is not to resist the attack. Embrace it. And what really happened is that they wind up, I wouldn't say they wind up losing their power, but they wind up empowering him. So he embraced the label of being crazy. And, we take suggestions from white people real quick. So we ran with it. The media, certain special people in the media come out and say things, TMZ or whoever, people who have what we would interpret as respectable name. When they say something, whether it's true or not, we don't really care. We jump on it. It's like I remember when I used to take martial arts when I was younger. Obviously you train how to defend against an attack, how to fight 1, 2, and 3 guys. But sometimes the sensei would say, you can't you can't go on the defense. How do you beat a man that you can't hit him back? You have to learn how to sidestep, anticipate the blow, where it's coming from, and then move out the way. Most guys that have taken any type of martial arts know that when you throw a punch or a kick, it's full strength. You're supposed to punch through the wall, through the person. But if you keep sidestepping those blows, that person is wearing themselves out and you're not expanding any energy. After a while, they start to look like a fool. You don't always have to block the punch, twist the arm, break the arm. Sometimes just sidestep it. Boom. Nothing. No effect. So the intended slander actually gave him power. And I know many of you might say, what do I mean by that, Lee? How could being called crazy empowers you? If everyone thinks you're crazy, what does that allow you to do? It allows you to be free. So what Kanye did, he flipped the script. He said, okay, everybody think I'm crazy? Cool. That means I can say what the fuck I want to say. And the worst case scenario, people are going to think I'm crazy. In the best case scenario, I'll be dropping top secrets. And those who know, or those who are sharp enough to perceive, they'll pick up. The problem with us sometimes as a people is that we are so judgmental. We are really very judgmental. And we are most judgmental one to another. We're not usually judgmental to others outside of our group. We give them grace. We'd be willing to forgive them for missteps. We're willing to give them a second chance.